Hi, I'm Toni,
Hey everyone, I'm Alina.
and we are therapists with Harper Therapy. And we are going live today so that we can introduce ourselves. Because Alina and I will be doing a group for family members who have loved ones who struggle with addiction. So we figured we wanted to just give you a little bit of background about ourselves and what we're doing and why we're here. So I have several years in child welfare. I did probably like 10 years in child welfare. I worked a little bit in the local jail here, and I helped with substance use disorder, and I helped to link people to other services. And then I also dabbled a little bit in some health insurance. So there's just a lot of years there where I worked with substance use disorder and just working with people and just kind of trying to connect people with services and get them the help that they need. What about some of your experience?
Hi everyone. So I've been here at Harper. I did my internship here a little while ago. Not a little while ago. It was a few years ago. But at that time, I was actually working at a substance abuse facility for women in South Tampa, and I was there for about 2013, like 5 years. And then I was a therapist at another substance abuse treatment facility, doing outpatient groups, doing some weekend groups, and so getting a lot of experience in that realm. I had a few different positions at the first treatment facility, doing admissions, doing marketing, doing administrative stuff, really seeing the ins and outs of what addiction treatment looks like, as well as getting like a clinical experience too over the past few years.
So I would say we have a good couple of years under our belt with
Yeah.
substance use. So with this group, we focus a lot on.
Well, I just wanted to
Yeah.
say, I don't think sometimes it's not really clear with child welfare,
Yeah.
where the addiction ties in. I mean, I think that's like an important thing to note, because you said you did a lot of work with child welfare,
Yes,
but like
lots.
where does the addiction piece play in that way?
Well, it's addiction is a big part of child welfare. A majority of our families come in because they're struggling with substance use disorder and they don't have family to lean on, or they've burned the bridges with their family, so they don't, and so that's why their kids wind up in care. And then we, case managers are there to help give them the services. And sometimes that's the first time they're actually realizing this is, getting your kids removed is kind of rock bottom for them. And that's when we're meeting them.
Right. Okay.
So being able to give them services at that time. So I would say about 85% of cases in child welfare have something to do with substance use.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a really good amount.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Cool. Thanks for clearing that up.
No problem. Anytime. So our group, we wanted to talk about just some of the things that we will be talking about in our group and how it has impacted us, because we have worked through this group over the past couple of weeks together and just trying to plan out what it would look like when we offered it to families. So one of the biggest takeaways I had with it was talking about offloading hurt. So there are days when you get so crazy busy and something's going on, you didn't sleep well. Your boss tells you something that you didn't like that answer, and just work is getting down. And then I just remember I walked in one day to my house and our playroom was a mess and I stepped on a Lego. And that was the end of it. That was me completely offloading my hurt all over my kids, all over my husband. I was going to empty out the playroom, like doing all those horrible, terrible things because they left out their Legos. They're 4 and 5. They're going to leave out Legos. When looking back and going through this, it taught me to figure out where that's coming from. I'm not mad that there's a Lego on the floor. They're kids. It's going to happen. I'm mad because I had a shitty day and because it was hard for me, and I didn't get a chance to do any self-care, and so making sure that's in there. So recognizing those triggers so that I'm not hurting others around me. So maybe you are having a bad day because your loved one that's suffering with addiction, you haven't heard from them. You don't know where they are. So you don't know where they are in their addiction. And then you're at work and you're cursing out a customer, which you're not supposed to do. So just kind of working through that and being able to be like, no, this is where this is stemming from. It's because of what's going on in my home. So I need to take a step back, take a couple of deep breaths in, and recognize I need self-care to deal with that. So What are some of the good takeaways you had with this?
Well, I love the discussion we had a couple weeks ago on grief. I know in my own personal journey, grief has been part of that. And whether it's through this work with Brene Brown's Rising Strong curriculum, or really like any recovery type work we do, we have to grieve a lot of different things, and in my own journey, as a therapist, I really believe strongly in doing your own work. And so, I do the work and I have had to grieve things, maybe grieving what I wanted or thought I needed and didn't get, and having, as a kid or a teenager, young adult, and having to give those things to myself or seek them out elsewhere, having to grieve what I thought things were going to look like and accept what the reality of the situation is. Grief is something that I think we don't talk about as much in the context of, learning to accept what is instead of what we want it to be. I mean, there's so much in our lives that we wish maybe were different, and great if it could be, but the first step towards making change is learning to work with where we're at. We can't just pretend everything's different. We see even for family members of people who struggle with addiction, you see people who kind of put their head in the sand, or they just pretend it's not a problem. The denial, that denial doesn't only exist with people who struggle with addiction, it exists with the family too. So, I think that first step of just acknowledging and accepting reality is really important. And I think that work in this group and in my own personal life has been really essential.
I think it's really important to remember that you don't have to just grieve the loss of a person. You could grieve the loss of a dream. You can grieve the loss of an expectation. Those are all things that you should be grieving, not just, a loved one. So, so I'm Toni, and this is Alina, and we will be facilitating an 8-week group that will be starting on...
Well, it's going to be starting on April 20th. That's the date. Yeah. So April 20th, Tuesdays, 6 to 7:30 p.m. It's an 8-week group.
And it's online this first go around.
Yeah, it's going to be a virtual group that I'll be leading to start with. Toni will be following that up with an in-person group once things start opening up back again. And, it's just a safe environment to start processing some of the feelings that you have.
Absolutely. And to get some tools to help yourself. So if you are interested and if you are struggling with a loved one's addiction, please feel free to give us a call at Harper Therapy at 813-434-3639.
You got that number right. Good job.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
See you, everyone.